Welcome, it's Pad, success coach, speaker, and author of a book called Team Me, using archetypes to get you out of stuck. So this is day 12 of your 21-day personal revolution program. And today I want to get an understanding of goals. Some people get fixated on goals because they constantly want to plan and make steps and move forward. And I love all of those things. It's great to have a direction, to have a clear plan. But there's a challenge with this. Sometimes we don't actually know what is necessary to do to get the job done. So we have to take a step back, and let's not get caught up with this thing of it has to happen by a certain time. Some people say that a goal is a dream with a deadline. Well, it is a dream in the sense that you envision the step that you need to be taking. You have to have a vision of it, otherwise how do you know what you're supposed to be doing? It's got to be a picture in your mind somehow. But then the problem is that very often people put a timeline on it, and when they don't achieve the thing by the time that they've set, they see it as a setback. Well, is it a setback? Well, it depends on whether it was important to reach it or not. A lot of people just draw a line in the sand and say, by this point, I will have done this. It's good to have a goal so that you stretch yourself, so that you ask yourself the question, what else could I do to achieve it by a certain time? It is really good to stretch out, but do not burn yourself out. The challenge is that you need to use the kind of pressure of the situation, the challenge of the situation to drive you forward, but let's not stress out. Let's not burn ourselves out to achieve goals that actually, does it matter if it's done within this day or the next, even this year or the next? So there's a balance here. It is good to be stretched. It is good to have a goal, to set a timeline to it to a certain degree. But you know what? Sometimes it is better not to stress out about a goal with a set deadline, but you just say, okay, I'm clear about what I want to do. Let's just set a direction. And let's just move forward in that direction. When I'm writing books, for example, or coming out with particular products and material, very often I don't have a particular deadline. I just say, okay, I'm going to set aside a certain amount of time and I'm just going to work at it and see how long it takes. Now, the more I go on, the more I do this, the more clear I can be about how long it pretty much takes to get completed. But it's not always the case. Do I then stress out about this thing? No. I've learned much more to go with the flow, and because of that strong mystic quality that does exist inside of me, I'm much more of a person who finds the flow and flows with the flow. I'm rather than battling through and breaking down the sides of the river if I don't like the direction it's going. I tend to flow with it. So as you're going in a particular direction, just be aware that the past does not equal the future. I'm sure you've heard that so many times. It is true. You're going in a new direction. You're going to end up in a different place. Go with it. Flow with it. Now, if you want to set some goals along the way, then that's good and that's fine if it works for you. But there are some personality types that are not driven by the where there's a will, there's a way. If I just determined enough, I will make it happen. That can be true for some people some of the time. And so it's good to have the goals. It's good to be clear about that. And it's good to be able to have something that's going to take you over the obstacles, because the more you set a goal, the more obstacles you're going to find on the way because you've set it. Whereas when you learn to go with the flow, you kind of sometimes flow around these things. You don't see these things as a wall that you have to bash through. You just see them as a stone in the river that you need to flow around. And it's a much more effortless way of approaching life, is not to set too many of these hard goals. So get this balance. The key is find out what works for you. Look at past goals. Did it help to have a goal defined with that smarter idea, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time-bound, and all that stuff? Is it good? Did it help you to get what you needed to get to? Now, it's good to stretch yourself. It's good to see what you would do when you have to get it done, when you must get it done. You'll find that there are capabilities in you that you didn't realize you had. And that's a great thing, to find those things through an absolute must of a goal. But there are times when actually it's causing so much stress in your life. Darn it, just chill. Just learn to flow. Make sure your direction, however, is clear. Make sure your vision is clear. And have the flexibility. If this didn't work in this direction, be flexible enough to say, well, how else could I go about this? What else could I try? What different approach, what different attitude, what different steps could I take? What different role model could I look to get that goal achieved? So we need to look at goals, but let's think more about our direction and about the general outcome we're trying to achieve. Because the chances are what you defined as your goal isn't actually going to look quite like that when you get there. It may in its essence, but other things are going to be different. So learn to aim for an outcome rather than a specific goal, unless that works for you. If you're the sort of person for whom that works, great, but don't demand it of everybody else. People are different. And if it is you that works much more with the flow, then learn to go with the flow. You'll find life a lot more fulfilling, and you'll find yourself judging and criticizing yourself a lot less. That's going to disempower you, isn't it? So learn to go with this. Go with the flow. Aim for an outcome rather than a goal, if that's the way in which you work. So let me know if this is working for you. Type in a comment, send me a note, and also sign up to my emails at teamme.com and subscribe to the videos, and you'll continuously get a supply of goodies from me to help you further the course of your life. So let's stay together on this journey. Join me for the next lesson on the next video.